So in the last video, we did Central Texas style ribs, which I think now people are really familiar with. If you guys didn't watch that video, make sure you check it out. For this video, I wanted to do something that's a little bit more familiar to myself, which is kind of like a Chicago Tavern style rib. You know, sometimes it's like steamed, sometimes it's baked, sometimes like sadly it's boiled ribs, basted in sauce and marked on a grill. Now, as much as like you can call those ribs, you know, I definitely wouldn't call that barbecue. Just because you slap on some barbecue sauce on some meat doesn't make it barbecue, at least in my opinion. So what I wanted to do in this video is kind of do my own version of a Chicago Tavern style rib, but make sure that it's actual barbecue. So with this rib, I really wanted to make it custom to what I remember and what I already have kind of on hand. So on a previous video, we made a rub, and then another video, we made a sauce, and those two things are gonna be used to kind of create these ribs that, you know, I'm trying to recreate from basically memory. And the difference in this video as well, as I kind of mentioned, is it's gonna be a baby back and not a St. Louis. It's not gonna be a spare rib. So this might be a little bit different. If you haven't cooked baby backs before, I don't do them very often either. So, you know, during this cook, you'll hear me talk about, you know, not being super familiar with spare ribs in particular, but you know, I think a lot of times when we cook barbecue, again, it's all instincts and kind of doing things off of feel, how things look. And at the end of the day, like I said, you know, bad barbecue is still good when, you know, we take care of the little things. You know, we did all of that kind of stuff in the prep. We made the rub, we made the sauce. Watching the fire and just getting meat done is kind of the rest of the job itself. So hope you guys enjoy this video of these Chicago Tavern style ribs. Alright guys, so let's talk about baby back ribs. So baby back ribs are, you guys know, is a lot leaner, it's a lot smaller of a rib, the bones are a little bit more curved and more pronounced. They're a really easy and short cook. This is what I grew up eating a lot, are baby back ribs, so I don't really have that aversion that some people have to baby backs. In terms of trim, it's pretty much it, guys. You don't really have to do anything. You know, with this, sometimes there might be a little more fat on top that you might want to shave down, but really there's not too much to it. On this back end, you might have things that are sticking out up right here, like on the membrane, you know, that kind of stuff. You know, you can cut off, that's fine, but really there's not too much to it. Something that you might just be a little bit more mindful of with baby backs is you kind of see this like strip of meat that's on top right here, right in the center. This, if you guys have cooked baby backs before, this kind of section tends to dry out a little bit and it starts to lift up if it's cooked too hot. So that's one thing that maybe I would pay attention more to than anything else. But in terms of trim, that's it, it's done. So for these baby backs, I'm gonna keep it nice and simple, and we're going to be using one of those rubs that we made last time. So this is kind of like my, I guess you can say it's the rib that I started making when I first got into barbecue. And so again, this is that basic rub that we made with all that, with that, you know, paprika, sugar, a little bit of cayenne, garlic, pepper. That's it. Keep it nice and basic and simple. We didn't add any salt to the rub itself, so that's why we're going to add the salt first. If we start off with, or have the salt inside the rub, but if the rub is really powdery, which it is because it has all that paprika and stuff in there, it will tend to dry out the surface and not allow that salt to stick anymore, because that paprika and the cayenne is super fine. So because of that, we're going to season first, and now we're going to go back over with that season that we got. It's a rub, but you don't rub it in, you just want to let it fall where it's supposed to, but we want to make sure it's nice and even all the way across, and we want to get a nice good color. That brown sugar is incorporated in there because we kind of used a glove and kind of mashed it in. It might not be super present, which isn't a bad thing, because with these ribs we don't want it to be super sugary with the rub, because, you know, we don't want it to end up burning. Finishing touches, adding more sugar towards the end of the cook is the way to kind of go, so you don't overcook things or you don't get things too caramelized and black, but a little bit in the rub is not, it's not terrible. That's it, guys. It's just very simply, not heavily coated in this rub, and again, once we get into better lighting, I'll be able to show it to you guys. But all right, so we're gonna go ahead and get this in the smoker, and we'll be good to go. Alright, we've allowed these ribs to sit for a little bit, and now that, just kind of like you guys are normal, I'm sure you guys do if you guys use any rubs, it's really starting to stick now, it's starting to get wet. So, at this point, let's say if you do have like a rub that has salt already in it, but you're not 100% confident that there's enough salt, you can sprinkle a little bit more salt in this point because it is getting a little bit tackier. So these ribs, I'm going to put in the back end right here. So for the baby back that we put in the back there, the reason why I put it back there is even though it's a little bit leaner, usually with leaner meats, either you want to cook it really gently or you want to cook it hot really fast, because you don't want it too hot for too long because then there's not enough fat to really keep it moist. And also the thing is, you don't want to cook it too long because whatever fat and juices might be left in there, you might end up seeping a lot of it out. I mean, obviously this is just general consensus. There's a lot of other things that are a little bit leaner that you can take and cook for a really, really long time and have it still be really good and have it be really pull apart tender, but that's not what we're looking for, especially for ribs. The only thing is it might be a little bit hotter in the back end, but the one thing I don't want is it to have a lot of airflow around it, because there's not as much fat on the surface as there's spare ribs. All that air kind of flowing on top of it, like really early in front of that smoker, I think it might end up drying out the surface too much. And so because of that reason, I decided to keep in the back where the airflow is a little bit more restricted to hopefully maybe not have the surface dry out quite as much as you would if you put it out in front. At least that's my thought. I don't really know. It's just different things that I'm always kind of playing around with and thinking about as I'm thinking about airflow, placement of your ribs, what thing are you cooking, and why are you going to be placing in certain spots. So I might find out that it does work better in the front than the back, but I won't know until I try it some other time, guys. So it's all experiment. We're just playing around with all these different things and all these different elements, and that's what barbecue's about. All right, so we sold that baby back all in the back right here. We got some nice color on here, but it's still not quite done yet. It's still pretty tight. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna throw it all the way into the front of the pit, just to kind of get it a little more broken down, because I do want to make sure that we get a good enough texture on here. So up in the front goes, and yeah, we'll be rocking and rolling. All right, chuck on these ribs. There you go. Alright, so I hope that you guys can see that a little bit better. Color's nice and dark. These ribs are hot, but it feels a lot softer now. Before it was a little bit tighter. With baby backs, you don't really want to cook them to the point where they're super soft, because the meat itself is already lean. So if you take it to it being soft, it's going to get to a mushy texture. So again, with any kind of ribs, it's preferential of texture, but more with baby backs than with spare ribs. I like to get them when they're a little slightly tighter. And so what we'll do with these is we're not gonna actually wrap these in foil, all right? Because like I said, at this point, I don't want them to get mushy. So what we're gonna do is we're going to use that barbecue sauce where it added the orange juice and stuff to that. We're gonna get some more coals out of our firebox. We're gonna put them back in our grill. We're gonna brush them with that sauce, and then we're just gonna mark it up. I would say like Chicago style Tavern ribs are, I don't know, sometimes they're boiled, sometimes they're baked in the oven, but usually it's kind of like once the ribs are done, they'll take their whatever sauce that they're using, slather on, and mark it on the grill. So that's what we'll do today. Alright, this thing should be hot enough. We got a lot of sugar in that sauce, so I don't want to completely burn it, but I do also want to caramelize it. Alright, so we got those ribs on there, and here's that sauce that we were talking about. Remember last time we said because it was cooling down it wasn't quite thick, but now it's thickening up a lot. I don't really like it where it's a molassesy. Remember, we use brown sugar instead of using molasses, so it's a little bit thinner, but I prefer it this way. So we're going to have a nice brush all over those ribs. This is definitely not Texas style or Central Texas style, but You know, this is I guess the way that I grew up eating it. Um, you know, really dark red sauce with a lot of sugar in it. But you know what? It's a homey flavor. And now we're gonna flip this over and hopefully get this side caramelized. Man, I don't know if you can tell, but man, even that backside, the color in the backside looks great. So, I don't know, pretty happy. I haven't made ribs like this in a long time. Fire doesn't seem quite hot enough, so I'm gonna raise these grates just a tad. Let's see if that helps. Just because the bones are curved like this, I'm gonna just kind of rock it back and forth just so I can get an even like crust over all ends of it, so it's not just the center of the rib that's getting marked up. It smells pretty good with this sauce that's starting to, I don't want to say burnt, but it's starting to cook a little bit on the surface. It's letting off a nice smell. Starting to get, since it's getting a little bit warmer, it's starting to get a little more glossy too. I don't know, man. This is like I said, I haven't cooked a rib like this in years, but I'll tell you what. Pretty excited about this one, guys. This is a hometown rib for me. It's looking pretty good. It's sizzling pretty good, and like these edges right here that had some sauce on it are starting to get a little bit dark. So I'm going to pull these off and say that we are ready to go. All right, guys. So here is that baby back that we were talking about before. And it's got a really nice dark color to it. I'm excited for this one. I really hope that this does taste similar to what I grew up eating, but you know, let's find out. This smell is definitely a smell that I remember. Let's see what we got. Oh man, this one looks great. All right, let's give it a taste. I wish I got a little more char on the grill. This is what I like about baby backs. This might be nostalgia kicking in or whatever it may be. If you find the right baby back that's long enough, that has enough meat in it, has enough marbling, it is super juicy. The first memory that comes to mind when I eat a rib like this is, I remember I don't know, probably not the first time, but one of the times eating ribs like this was with my grandparents, like up in there, like we used to live in a duplex, and then for dinner my parents picked up Carson's ribs, and we were watching a Bulls and Lakers game. The smell, this flavor, all that kind of stuff brings me back to that. Wow, it's really good, guys. I'm like surprised. All right, guys, so I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Obviously, it's something a little bit different. I wanted to do something where I can show you guys a new, just a new rub, a new sauce, maybe you don't even cook baby backs, and this is your first time. Like, this is a great opportunity to kind of mix it up. And you know, like I said, with any of my videos, like, nothing that I do is like, this is the way it should be done. It's the reason why I made the rub that I made for this one super simple. You know, those pantry ingredients that you probably already have. It can only be so much fun if we just try to copy all the time. Hopefully, you know, we can get outside, you know, our comfort zones and try something new, because that's the only way that we're going to push this barbecue culture forward. And again, if you don't want to and you just want to replicate, that's cool too. Like, this is a really good recipe to copy. So anyway, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I had a lot of fun kind of putting all these components together. But yeah, if you like this video, make sure you like, subscribe, share this video with your friends. If you have any questions or comments, make sure to leave them down below, and I'll see you guys in the next one.